Hello everyone, this is the 5th Epistle of Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we are going to study, continue study paper 39, and we're on section 4. We stopped at section 4 last week, Administrator Seraphim, and that starts on page 434. So let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. Thank you for this wonderful revelation. And we believe that's exactly what it is. It's a revelation from you, that we might learn about you and prepare us for the next lives. We thank you. We give you the praise. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, the fourth order of Seraphim. Dear, you want to, Diane, you want to start out reading for us?
4. Administrator Seraphim. The fourth order of Seraphim are assigned to the administrative duties of the local universes, the local systems. They are indigenous to the system capitals, but are stationed in large numbers on the mansion and ranch of spheres and on the inhabited worlds. Fourth order Seraphim are by nature endowed with unusual administrative abilities. They are the able assistants of the directors of the lower divisions of the universe government of a Creator's Son, and are mainly occupied with the affairs of the local systems and their component worlds. They are organized for service as follows.
Okay. Oh, I haven't turned on my clickers here. Hang on. Y'all give me a second. Behind already.
Your voice doesn't sound really clear to me.
Yeah, it may not be. Well, that one I got. Hang on. Let's see if I can do it this way. There we go. Tim, would you take the next paragraph?
1. Administrative assistants. These able seraphim are the immediate assistants of a system sovereign, a primary Lenonadic son. They are invaluable aids in the execution of the intricate details of the executive work of the system headquarters. They also serve as the personal agents of the system rulers, journeying back and forth in large numbers to the various transit worlds and to the inhabited planets, executing many commissions for the welfare of the system and in the physical and biologic interest of its inhabited worlds.
Okay, and let me show you this picture and we'll talk about this a little bit here. Primary Lenonadic sons. This is the system sovereign. This is the position that Lucifer had. He was a system sovereign. Our new system sovereign is Lanaforge. But these Seraphim, the administrative assistants, assist these system sovereigns in anything they need done. Okay, but if you think about the system sovereign, this is Lucifer's position. He's in charge of a system which is 100 planets, right? And or is it 1,000 planets? I think it's 100 planets. But they act as the personal agent of these system rulers, and they go to and from the planets and do jobs that need to be done for these primary Lenonadic sons. Okay? These same seraphic ministers are also attached to the governments of the world rulers, the planetary princes. The majority of the planets in a given universe are under the jurisdiction of a secondary Lenonadic son. But on certain worlds, such as Urantia, there have been a miscarriage of the divine plan. In the event of the defection of a planetary prince, these seraphim become attached to the Melchizedek receivers and their successors in planetary authority. The present acting ruler of Urantia is assisted by a corps of 1,000 of these versatile order of seraphim. And that's exactly what happened on our planet, right? When Caligasta betrayed us, went into betrayal during the Lucifer rebellion, the Melchizedek receivers took charge of the planet, 12 of them. And so these seraphim would fall under the jurisdiction of these 12 Melchizedek receivers. Now, the problem is many of the seraphim defected also with Lucifer during this rebellion. So some seraphim were lost during the rebellion. Alright. Alright. On to the next one. Diane?
Justice guides. These are the angels who present the summary of evidence concerning the eternal welfare of men and angels, and such matters come up for adjudication in the tribunals of a system or a claimant. They prepare the statements for all preliminary hearings involving mortal survival, statements which are subsequently carried with the records of such cases to the higher tribunals of the universe and the superuniverse. The defense of all cases of doubtful survival is prepared by these seraphim, who have a perfect understanding of all the details of every feature of every count in the indictments drawn by the administrators of the universe of justice.
Okay, so these justice guides basically help prepare statements for mortals and try to help them along to survive, you know, if their future is in question. Hi, Melly. You hear us?
Hello. I apologize. I had Skype on. I had been listening to the Urantia book with my headphones on, so I did not hear the bell. Didn't hear you call me because I didn't have my headphones on anymore. I was eating dinner.
Oh, okay. Well, we're at 3944.
I see where he is, Universe Justice.
That's right.
It is not the mission of...
Okay. All right. Well, we're good then. Let's go on.
I would take my headphones off. If this gives you interference, I'll put it back on.
Okay. Okay. We'll let you know.
I can't get enough volume.
Okay. Yeah, I'm already getting feedback from you.
Feedback.
You got feedback?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll put it back on.
Okay.
I'll put it back on.
Unfortunately, sounds not to us perfectly.
How's that?
Okay, that's good. All right, now I forget who's supposed to read. Diane, would you read? No, you just read. It's Tim.
It's not the mission of these angels to defeat or to delay justice, but rather to ensure that unerring justice is dealt out with generous mercy and fairness to all creatures. These seraphim often function on local worlds, commonly appearing before the referee trios of conciliating commissions, the courts for minor misunderstandings. Many who at one time served as justice guides in the lower realms later appear as voices of mercy in the higher spheres and on Selkirk.
Okay, I don't know if y'all remember or not, but the conciliating commissions are little three being courts, right, that travel the universe and help referee misunderstandings and stuff. That's what they're talking about here. Okay, and I think that's all I need to say about that. Okay. All right. Tim, would you take the next one?
In the Lucifer Rebellion, instantaneously, very few of the Justice Guides were lost, but more than 1/4 of the Order Administrator, Seraphim, and of the lower orders of Seraphim, Seraphic ministers, were misled and deluded by the sophistries of an unbridled personal liberty.
So these are the seraphim that followed Lucifer into rebellion. Okay. And many of these, of course, will probably repent of their misdeeds and end up serving in some form or fashion. But this is considered a misstep. But it is considered rebellion, and only their fate would be determined by the Ancients of Days, and only the Ancients of Days could make that decision, right? All right.
So it was mostly the administrative assistants, and just a few of the justice guides?
Yeah, that's what they were saying, 1/4 of the administrative assistants were lost. I've got something going on here, can't read it. Oh, it cleared up, okay. Must been a connection. Oops, it's back again. No, hang on for a second. There's a problem with the call, okay. I think it came back. Everybody still there?
Yes.
No, we lost Tim.
I don't see anybody but you and Diane.
Yeah, Tim just dropped out.
You did that last week. Not quite so early.
Yeah. Let me see if it comes back here.
Do we have Rodney too?
Huh?
Was Rodney on?
Not yet, no.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to add him to the call. There we go.
Thank you, Roger.
Yep, you back?
I just had a question. What's personal liberty? That's personal freedom?
Yeah, it's called unbridled personal freedom. In other words, one of the things that Lucifer was expounding is that all beings should have unbridled freedom to do anything and everything they ever wanted. You know, and in an organized universe, we know that's not possible, right? If we had no organization and we had no cosmic rules to live by, there would be nothing but chaos. And that's what Lucifer wanted. They called it unbridled freedom. The freedoms that he wanted, most of them he already had, and the ones he didn't have, he would have had in the future along the pathway of evolution. But he didn't want to wait. So that's what got him in so much trouble, among other things. So that's what they're talking about there. Every organization has to have basically a framework of rules for every type of being, so that we have an organization in the universe. Without that, the universe would just be chaos, anybody doing whatever they want, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Interpreters of cosmic citizenship. When ascending mortals have completed the mansion world training, the first student apprenticeship in the universe career, they are permitted to enjoy the transient satisfactions of relative maturity, citizenship on the system capital. While the attainment of each ascendant goal is a factual achievement, in the larger sense, such goals are simply milestones on the long ascending path to paradise. But however relative such successes may be, no evolutionary creature is ever denied the full, thorough, transient satisfaction of goal achievement. Ever and anon there is a pause in the paradise ascent, a short breathing spell during which universe horizons stand still. Creature status is stationary and the personality tastes the sweetness of goal fulfillment. Now y'all think about this. The ascent to paradise is millions and millions and millions of years, isn't it? Right? So what they're talking about is, it's not like we go through the same thing and work for short periods of time and then we go on to the next thing. We have long periods of time to experience every single thing on the way to paradise. And in between these assignments, we do have downtime. They don't tell us how long it is, but it could be like 100 years. It could be a whole lifetime like we have now, that you have downtime. We just do not know. They don't tell us these things, right? But you would think on a long trek to paradise, millions of years, that our downtime would be long enough that we would feel totally refreshed to go on to the next one, right? That's the whole point. All right. Billy, would you take the next one?
The first of such periods in the career of mortal ascenders occurs on the capital of the local system. During this pause, you will, as a citizen of Jerusalem, attempt to express in creature life those things which you have acquired during the 8 preceding life experiences, embracing Uracha and the 7 mansion worlds.
Wouldn't you think this would be a long break so that you could try to do this, incorporate all these things you learned in these long, eight lifetimes, really, on the way to system capital?
How do you express it?
I'm not sure, Millie. I think it would be in working with other beings on the system capital, doing things not only for fun, but work experiences, working with them, helping other people come along, and that sort of thing, I would think.
I hope you get to sit by the lake and just contemplate.
Chill out. Right.
Diane spent too much time in Alaska.
Yeah.
She's still on vacation mode.
That's right. By the way, Rodney emailed me and said he's in...
I like to take time out to think, and just kind of be, which I kind of interpret that like that, just, to appreciate and to, your achievements and listen to the birds.
Yeah. What I was going to say is Rodney is in Florida. He texted me a little bit ago and said he's going to try to join us, so he may pop in here a little bit too. Tissue or something.
Well, you know, Roger, you know what I want to be?
What's that?
I want to become a finaliter. when somebody says, "What do you want to be in life?"
Yeah,
I want to be a
finaliter.
finaliter.
Yeah, me too. All right. Diane, would you take the next one, please, dear? Diane?
I'm Millie. Yes, I am back. Part of me's back.
Would you take the next one, please, dear?
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Oh boy, I forgot where we are.
The Seraphic Interpreters?
I think,
Seraphic interpreters.
thank you. The Seraphic Interpreters of Cosmic Citizenship guide the new citizens of the system capitals and quicken their appreciation of the responsibilities of universe government. These Seraphim are also closely associated with the material sons of the system administration, while they portray the responsibility and morality of cosmic citizenship to the material mortals on the inhabited worlds.
So they have to train us what the proper procedure is for citizenship on the system capitals. You know, it doesn't come naturally. You actually have to be taught these things. So, okay. Tim, would you take the next one?
4. Quickeners of morality. On the mantle worlds, you begin to learn self-government for the benefit of all concerned. Your mind learns cooperation, learns how to plan with other wiser beings. On the system headquarters, the Seraphic teachers will further quicken your appreciation of cosmic morality, the interactions of liberty and loyalty.
Okay, so ancient worlds, these Seraphim, okay, teach you how to plan and do things with wiser beings than yourself, right? And teach you more about the cosmic morals that's out there. All right, what is loyalty? It is the fruit of an intelligent appreciation of universe brotherhood. One could not take so much and give nothing. As you ascend the personality scale, you learn to be loyal, then to love, then to be filial, and then to be free. But until you are a finaliter, not until you have attained perfection of loyalty can you realize finality of liberty. In other words, you have to have boundaries before you can be totally, totally free, really. That's what they're saying here. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes, yes. These Seraphim teach the fruitfulness of patience. Boy, do I need that one.
Me too.
The stagnation is certain death, but that over-rapid growth is equally suicidal. That as a drop of water from a high level falls to a lower and, flowing onward, passes ever downward through a succession of short falls, so every upward is progress in the Naracha and spirit world, and just as slowly and by just such gradual stages.
And this is something we need to learn on this planet, that we grow in very, very slow, progressive steps, don't we, through life. And as you get older and older, as the older you get, the wiser you should become. At least some people do. And this is what they're talking about. This process of growing is a very, very slow process, and it is not stagnation. You know, on this planet, we have a tendency to get in a hurry to do everything. We got to get it done. Got to get it done. Got to get it done. In reality, there's no hurry to do anything at all. That's what it boils down to. Wish y'all could see the floor here. I'm surrounded by cats.
Hi, Snowy.
Hey, Snowy!
I have Mary right here on me.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
Diane, would you take the next one?
Oh, yeah. Ivy. To the inhabited worlds, the quickeners of morality portray mortal life as an unbroken chain of many things. Your short sojourn on Urantia, on this sphere of mortal infancy, is only a single link the very first in the long chain that is to stretch across universes and through the eternal ages. It is not so much what you learn in this first life, it is the experience of living this life that is important. Even the work of this world, paramount though it is not nearly so important as the way in which you do this work. There is no material reward for righteous living, but there is profound satisfaction, consciousness of achievement, and this transcends any conceivable material reward.
Okay,
There it is.
there it is. You know, you could spend weeks on this, couldn't you? It is the experience of living this life that is important. That's what's important, right? And it says here, the paramount though it is, not nearly so important as the way in which you do this work. So what's not so much what you do, it's the way you do it. Remember when they say in the book several times that all work is holy work? It really is. No matter what kind of profession you're in, you don't have to be a preacher or minister or whatever to do the work of God. You can do the work of God in any profession you have, right? And it's the way in which you do this work, both morally, socially, all of the things we just talked about in the previous paragraphs. You know, that's what's important in how we do our work, right? Okay?
So it's going through this life, and that's the achievement by not giving up, or some people committing suicide. It's the achievement of living day by day, trying to do the will of the Father.
That's it. That's it. And the next paragraph tells us exactly how we do that. Okay? And here we go. Tim, take this next paragraph, the keys.
The keys of the kingdom of heaven are sincerity, more sincerity, and more sincerity. All men have these keys. Men use them, advance in spirit status, by decisions, by more decisions, and by more decisions. The highest more choice is the choice of the highest possible value, and always in any sphere and all of them. This is to choose to do the will of God. If man thus chooses, he is great, though he be the humblest citizen of Jerusalem, or even the least of mortals on your rancho.
Okay, so it's sincerity, 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 and decisions, decisions, decisions. Making moral choices and trying to follow the will of God. That's
and the word sincerity, what does that mean?
That means being totally dedicated to everything you do, right? You have a positive goal, doing things, trying to do it the way you feel that God would have you do it. That's sincerity, right? You sincerely are trying to do your work the best you can in the eyes of God. That's what it boils down to, right?
Yes.
That's the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And it all boils down what? To do the Father's will. That's what it all boils down to. Okay. The transporters. These are the transport seraphim. Does this sound familiar? The other sections we've read about, each one of them had what? Transport seraphims, haven't we? On each and every level there's a group of transport seraphim. These are the transport seraphim who function in the local system. In Satania, your system, they carry passengers back and forth from Jerusalem and otherwise serve as interplanetary transporters. Seldom does a day pass in which a transport seraphim of Satania does not deposit some student visitor or some other traveler of spirit or semi-spirit nature on the shores of Urantia. In other words, they're coming and going here all the time. These very space traversers will sometimes carry you to and from the various worlds of the system headquarters group. And when you have finished the Jerusalem assignment, they will carry you forward to Adentia. But under no circumstances, listen to this very carefully, under no circumstances will they carry you backward to the world of your human origin. A mortal never returns to his native planet during this dispensation of his temporal existence. If he should return during a subsequent dispensation, he would be escorted by a transport seraphim of the universe headquarters group. Alright, now think about this. During a dispensation, which is how long? At least 1,000 years, right? So, under no circumstances will they take you back to your original planet for 1,000 years. And then even after that, if they do let you go back to your planet, you're escorted by a seraphim all the time you're here. Why would that be, do you think? So that you do not try to communicate with any relative or living or distant relative that will be coming from you, from your children's or your children's children or your children's children's children. Under no circumstances are humans, once they leave this planet, allowed to communicate with mortals. That's what it's saying. That's very, very important. So if you think you're getting channeled a message from your great-grandfather or something like that, it ain't happening. I'm sorry. It's your imagination. Okay? And people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. Okay. This is a picture of transport seraphim and them carrying beings from the system headquarters to the different planets and things. Okay? Do we have any questions about that communication fact?
Well, it says you can't come back in a form. Can you connect through prayers to your loved ones?
No. You're not allowed to communicate to a planet after you leave. Not your planet of origin. No. Now, when you get to the mansion worlds, things are different, aren't they? When you get to the mansion worlds, you can communicate from the first mansion world up to beings that go ahead of you, and you can communicate backwards from beings that are just coming in. Okay? That actually will transport you back to the first mansion world if you have a relative you want to welcome to the first mansion world. So it's just your planet of origin. Now why would that be? Think about this for a second. Why would that be? Because they do not want to give any human being, they do not want to take away the privilege of any human being to move on from the first world to the first mansion world. On what? Faith. If you could communicate with your dead relatives, then you wouldn't need faith. You would be convinced by your dead relatives talking to you, wouldn't you?
That's very true.
Okay? So you would miss the opportunity to do exactly what Jesus taught everyone. What is that? We are saved by what?
Faith.
Faith.
By
right?
faith.
That's why they call us what? Faith sons of God. Right? And if we can communicate with our relatives, then we lose the opportunity to exercise our faith. You see that? And these are the things that even the angels would like the opportunity to experience. So they definitely aren't going to let you do that, are they? So that's why that's set up that way. Okay, the recorders. Millie, I think you're up. Here.
Did you say me?
Yes, dear, I did.
The recorders. These seraphim are the keepers of the threefold records of the local systems. The temple of records on the system capital is a unique structure, 1/3 material, constructed of luminous metals and crystals, 1/3 morontial, fabricated of the liaison of spiritual and material energy, but beyond the range of mortal vision, and 1/3 spiritual. The recorders of this order preside over and maintain this threefold system of records. Ascending mortals will at first consult the material archives. Material sons and the higher transition beings consult those of the Morontia halls, while Seraphim and the higher spirit personalities of the realm pursue the records of the spirit section.
Okay, do you understand the importance of this paragraph? We do not, as human beings, we cannot even see the material records on a Morontia sphere. Okay? Even though they're partially material. It's still outside the human range of vision. Okay? And it's not until we get to the first mansion world where we have a more expanded Morantial vision can we even see the Morantia material combination records. Okay? The physical ones. But think about this. If this is the case on the Morantia world, don't you think that there's probably Morantia buildings and spiritual buildings right here on this planet that's outside our vision? Probably so, right? I would think so. Because the angels and the midwayers have to go somewhere, don't they? Because we can't see them.
Shambhala.
Huh?
You mean Shambhala.
Might be Shambhala. We just don't know, do we? All right, the reserves.
I had a question.
Yeah.
What exactly is the threefold records in the local system?
The threefold records would be material, Morantia, and spiritual. That would be the threefold records, the three different types, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Diane, would you?
7. The reserves. The Reserve Corps of Administrator Seraphim on Jerusalem spend much of their waiting time in visiting as spirit companions with the newly arrived ascending worlds from the various worlds of the system, the accredited graduates of the mansion worlds. One of the delights of your sojourn on Jerusalem will be to talk and visit during recess periods with these much-traveled and many experienced Seraphim of the waiting Reserve Corps.
All right, so think about this. We can have long discussions with these Reserve Corps Seraphim when we get there, right, on Jerusalem. Imagine the experience these beings have, you know. So it will probably be very interesting. Tim, would you take the next one?
It is just such friendly relationships as these that so endear a system capital to the ascending mortals. On Jerusalem you will find the first intermingling of material sons, angels, and ascending pilgrims. Here fraternize beings who are wholly spiritual and semi-spiritual, and individuals just emerging from the material existence. Mortal forms are there so modified in human ranges of light, reactions so extended that all are able to enjoy mutual recognition and sympathetic personality understanding.
So when we get there, our eyesight is extended, right? Extended in light range. So we can recognize these beings. We can see them. And the higher we go, the more extended our vision becomes. Okay? Planetary helpers. These Seraphim maintain headquarters on the system capitals, and though closely associated with the resident Adamic citizens, are primarily assigned to the service of the planetary atoms, the biologic or physical uplifters of the material races on the evolutionary worlds. The ministering work of angels becomes of increasing interest as it nears the inhabited worlds, as it nears the actual problems faced by the men and women of time who are preparing themselves for the attempt to attain the goal of eternity. So the closer they get to the mortal worlds, the more interesting it comes to them. You see that? And these angels are assigned to the planetary atoms. So Adam and Eve both had a whole group of these angels assigned to them. This is the material son and daughter, and these are the planetary helpers that comes down with them. So every Adam and Eve that comes to this world has a group of these beings assigned to them.
I just had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
Just where it says at number 7, the reserves, it says mortal forms are there so modified in human ranges of light reaction. What's light reaction?
In other words, our eyesight is extended so that we see a longer range of light. You know, human beings see a very short range of light, and that's how we see, right? So when we get a Morantia body, it probably doubles or triples the light spectrum does, so that we're able to see Morantia and more spiritual type beings, especially the angels.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
All right. Okay, let's see who's up next. Tim, I think you're up next. Okay.
On Urantia, the majority of the planetary helpers were removed upon the collapse of the academic regime and the seraphic supervision of your world devolved to a greater extent upon the administrators, the transition ministers, and the guardians of destiny. But these seraphic aids of your defaulting material sons still serve Urantia in the following groups.
Okay, so many of them were removed, but some of them are still left here. These are the ones that were left. Number 1, the voices of the garden. When the planetary course of human evolution is attaining its highest biological level, there always appear the material sons and daughters, the Adams and Eves, to augment the further evolution of the races by an actual contribution of their superior life plasm. In other words, they tweak our DNA, don't they? The planetary headquarters, how do they do that? They mix with the races eventually. Okay. The planetary headquarters of such an Adam and Eve is usually denominated the Garden of Eden, and their personal seraphim are often known as the voices of the garden. These seraphim are the invaluable service to the planetary atoms in all their projects for the physical and intellectual upstepping of the evolutionary races. After the Adamic default on Urantia, some of these seraphim were left on the planet and were assigned to Adam's successors in authority. Okay, so what it's telling us here is Adam and Eve was sent to, as a biological uplift. In other words, it wasn't Adam and Eve that was supposed to uplift this. It was their children and their children's children that were supposed to mix with all races and marry and produce children. And that's how they give us the biological uplifting, which is pretty close to what they say in Ancient Aliens when they say 39,000 years ago we had a DNA tweaking, and that's basically what we had. They weren't wrong about that for sure. Okay, so that's what they're talking about here. And the voices of the garden are the seraphim that are assigned to the material sons and daughters when they come. Now, we're going to study this later on, but it was a voice of the garden that gave Eve the warning that she was about to default when she made her decision. Remember that? So we'll cover that when we get to it. But this is the angel that actually told her, Eve, you're about to go astray. You know. So, all right. Millie, did you take the next one?
Number 2, the spirits of brotherhood. It should be apparent that when Adam and Eve arrive on our evolutionary world, the task of achieving racial harmony and social cooperation among its diverse races is one of considerable proportions. Seldom do these races of different colors and varied natures take kindly to the plan of human brotherhood. Still going on today. These primitive men only come to realize the wisdom of peaceful inter-association as a result of ripened human experience and through the faithful ministry of the seraphic spirits of brotherhood. Without the work of these seraphim, the efforts of the material sons to harmonize and advance the races of an evolving world would be greatly delayed. And had your Adam adhered to the original plan for the advancement of Urantia, by this time these spirits of brotherhood would have worked unbelievable transformations in the human race. In view of the Adamic default, it is indeed remarkable that these seraphic orders have been able to foster and bring to realization even as much of brotherhood as you now have on Urantia.
So we see the problems here, don't we? We really do. And these spirits of brotherhood are constantly working to bring us together as brothers. And they're doing it even today, and they're really got their work cut out for them right now, I'll tell you what. All right, Diane, take the next one.
3, the souls of peace. The early millenniums of the upward strivings of evolutionary men are marked by many a struggle. Peace is not the natural state of material realms. The world's first realized peace on earth and goodwill among men through the ministry of the seraphic souls of peace. Although these angels were largely thwarted in their early efforts on Urantia, chief of the souls of peace in Adam's day, was left on Urantia and is now attached to the staff of the resident governor general. And it was this same Vavona, who, when Michael was born, heralded to the world as a leader of the angelic host. Glory to God in Vavona, and on earth peace and goodwill among men.
So these are the angels that said this on what day?
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, when the day that Christ was born. This was the actual statement. Glory to God in Havona. Not in the highest. In Havona. What's Havona? Havona is the central universe, which includes what? Paradise, the dwelling place of God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit.
It's just of 1 billion worlds.
And the system of 1 billion worlds. That's right, that's Havona. So it was this angel that said, glory to God in Havona, and on earth peace and goodwill among men. And that's their job, right? Try to bring peace. Okay. Alright, Tim, would you take the next one?
For the spirits of trust. Suspicion is the inherent reaction.
I either skipped too far.
I'm sorry, I didn't read the next paragraph. Did you want me to read that, Roger?
No, that's for Tim. Tim, it's in the immortal... Yeah.
Okay. In the more advanced epics of planetary evolution, these Seraphim are instrumental in supplanting the atonement ideal by the concept of divine attunement as a philosophy of mortal survival.
Okay, this is the biggest affront on the Southern Baptists, probably right here. Okay? It says here that in the advanced epics of mortal evolution, okay, in other words, we become more and more evolved, okay? These seraphim work to replace the concept of atonement. What is the concept of atonement? That Jesus died for our sins, right? And they work to replace that concept with the concept of attunement as the philosophy of mortal assignment. And what is the philosophy of the concept of divine attunement? That is, salvation is only the brotherhood of God, the brotherhood of man. You're only saved by faith. There is no sacrifice necessary for your survival. That's what the concept of divine attunement is. You're saved by faith. And that's what Jesus came to teach us. The fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, just like Millie said, right? That is the divine attunement.
Yeah, I had my speaker off and I would have jumped in, but when we came to glory to God in Havana and on earth peace and goodwill toward men, if anybody heard that, they would not know what Havana is. They would have interpreted that as heaven.
No, they wouldn't. But actually, Millie, Havana, the concept of Havana was taught by Adam and Eve to their descendants. It was also taught by Melchizedek. Okay, so it wasn't a new concept, but people just did not learn it. So during that period of time when Jesus was born, they would have had no idea what you're talking about, right?
Only those who studied it.
Just those who studied it. That's right. You know, that's the thing about studying the Urantia book. That's why we need groups like this to kind of explain to people some of these concepts so that when you read through it, you're not totally lost, right? You know, really. Okay. Let's see. The spirits of trust. I think I'm up. 4. The spirits of trust. Suspicion is the inherent reaction of primitive men. The survival struggles of the early ages do not naturally breed trust. Trust is a new human acquisition brought about by the ministry of these planetary seraphim of the Adamic regime. It is their mission to inoculate trust into the minds of evolving men. The gods are very trustful. Universal Father is willing freely to trust himself, the adjuster, to man's association. See that? So these are the spirits of trust that help bring this into being. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes, I keep turning my speaker off. Got a question. The word. It is their mission to inculcate trust. What is inculcate?
Hang on, let me go back here. You see?
You said a different word.
I said inoculate. Yeah, it's a medical thing. It is their mission to inculcate trust. In other words, the word means it's their mission to insert trust into the minds of evolving men.
Okay, got it.
That's what it really means. Okay.
And next, this entire group of Seraphim was transferred to the new regime after the Adamic miscarriage, and they have ever since continued their labors on Urantia, and they have not been wholly unsuccessful since the civilization is now evolving, which embodies much of their ideals and confidence and trust.
You see this
ideals
slope?
of confidence and trust.
What was that, Millie? Say that again.
Which is now evolving, and it embodies much of their ideals of confidence and trust.
That's right. Yeah. The ideals of comments
Not just ideas, but ideals.
Not just ideas, but ideals. All right, which is different.
So it's kind of like they're kind of sending messages to the human beings about that trust.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Kind of interesting, huh? And how would they do that? Tim, you think about it, because we know
There
that.
a circuit?
Huh?
There's some sort of brain circuit?
Actually, they do it through the thought adjuster. You know, they would give these suggestions to you through your thought adjuster, because they have no direct contact with what? The human mind. Only the adjuster does, right?
Wonderful.
All right. Okay, Diane, would you take the next one?
In the more advanced planetary agency, Seraphim enhance man's appreciation of the truth that uncertainty is the secret of contented continuity. They help the moral philosophers to realize that when ignorance is essential to success, it would be a colossal blunder for the creature to know the future. They heighten man's taste for the sweetness of uncertainty, for the romance and charm of the indefinite and unknown future.
So they're not going to tell us everything, are they? Because they know that it's this uncertainty that makes us want to go on and on and on. If they told us everything that's going to happen from square one to all the way to the end of paradise, then we wouldn't have, why would we want to go through it? Because we already know what happens, right? How it comes out. So this gives us a appreciation of uncertainty. Okay? Alright. Tim, the transporters?
5. The transporters. The planetary transporters serve the individual worlds. The majority of and Seraphim beings brought to this planet are in transit. They merely stop over. They are in custody of their own special Seraphic transporters. But there are a large number of such Seraphim stationed on Urantia. These are the transport personalities operating from the local planets, as from Urantia to Jerusalem.
Okay, so here are the transporters again, right? These are the planetary transporters, the local transporters. So these angels are stationed on a planet constantly. So each planet, just like Urantia, has its own group of transporters that move beings on and off of it, right? Okay, so you can think of it as the celestial airline, right? All right. Your conventional huh?
The big jets.
Huh?
The big jets.
The big jets, that's right. Your
Planetary taxis.
Planetary taxis.
Celestial taxis.
Celestial taxis, that's exactly what they are, too. Okay. Your conventional idea of angels has been derived in the following way. During moments just prior to physical death, a reflective phenomena sometimes occurs in the human mind. This dimming consciousness seems to visualize something of the form of the attending angel, and this is immediately translated in the terms of the habitual concept of angels held in that individual's mind. So if your concept of angels has wings, that's what you'll see, isn't it? Right? if your concept of angels has friction shields, what will you see? Friction shields, right? If your concept of angels has no wings at all or nothing whatsoever, that is what you will see, right? It's the interpretation of the human mind. All right. Okay, who's up? Let's see. I think, huh?
Am I up?
I think you're up. Here.
The erroneous idea that angels possess wings is not wholly due to olden notions that they must have wings to fly through the air. Human beings have sometimes been permitted to observe seraphim that were being prepared for transport service, and the traditions of these experiences have largely determined the Urantian concept of angels. In observing a transport seraphim being made ready to receive a passenger for interplanetary transit, there may be seen what are apparently double sets of wings extending from the head to the foot of the angel. In reality, these wings are energy insulators, friction shields.
Okay, I got a couple slides here that are very interesting. I'm going to show you. First, this is our traditional idea of angel with wings, right? That's the way angels have been painted for years. Okay, and then we'll go one more paragraph, and I'll show you some more pictures. Tim, would you take the next one?
When celestial beings are to be in Seraphim for transfer from one world to another, they are brought to the headquarters of the sphere, and after due registry, are inducted into the transit sleep. Meantime, the transport Seraphim move into a horizontal position of the universe energy pole of the planet. While the energy shields are wide open, the sleeping personality is skillfully deposited by the officiating Seraphic assistants directly on top of the transport angel. And both the upper and lower pairs of shields are carefully closed and adjusted.
Okay, so this is an illustration of a transport seraphim with and without a sleeping mortal, okay? And normally these beings are inserted on top of the seraphim, and then the friction shields are closed over them, okay? Alright, so this is what the shields would look like when they're open, okay? And then the sleeping mortal is deposited right on top of the seraphim, and then they close the shields, and it looks like that. So that the sleeping mortal would be inside here, and the shield would completely encapsulate them. Does that make sense?
It looks complicated and scary.
Actually, you're asleep, so you wouldn't even know it was scary, right? When you go in to be transported, they basically induce a sleep at that point, and then they deposit you on top of this, so you don't really have a memory of experiencing this. All you do is you go to sleep, and then you wake up in another planet.
Knowing what's going to happen, you have the anxiety.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on. We got one more picture here.
I had a question.
Sure.
And this is from planet to planet in Seraphimus?
Right. Yeah. These are local seraphim. So they would take you from planet to planet, and from this planet to the mansion worlds, or this planet to Jerusalem. Right? So if we had student visitors, it would be these local seraphim that would take them planet to other inhabited planets in our local system, right?
And just one more question. Is there ever a time where it stops, where you're not in Seraphim and you do it on your own?
Yes, when you get to become a finaliter, when you actually meet God and you become a finaliter, you no longer need transport seraphim. At that point, you can move from universe to universe, planet to planet, all on your own.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay?
But your desire for movement will be very different from what it would be now.
It will be. It will be totally different. And when you get to become a finaliter, you will get an assignment, and then you will personally transport yourself out to whatever planet that assignment would be on. Right? So you would not need seraphim at that point any longer. But all the way up to paradise, you have to have seraphim to be transported. Seraphim or Seraphim or Supernaphim, one of the three. Okay? Each one has a different area. Alright, let's go on. And I think, Tim, you're next, if I remember correctly.
I'm completely lost. Where am I?
And now under the influence of transporters?
Okay.
Transformers? I'm sorry.
And now under the influence of the transformers and the transmitters, a strange metamorphosis begins as the Seraphim is made ready to swing into the energy currents of the universe circuits. To the outward appearance.
Tim, hold on a second. Let me read this so I can break this down as we go, because there's a lot in this. So
okay.
Let me read this and you can take the next one. And now under the influence of the transformers and the transmitters. You know what the transformers and the transmitters are? These are the energy beings. Remember we talked about these? So under the influence of these energy beings, okay, a strange metamorphosis begins that the Seraphim is made ready to swing into the energy circuits of the universe circuits. You know those circuits we studied? This is one of the circuits for the angels. In other words, these circuits are set out through the whole entire universe. So these angels do not just fly from planet to planet. They have specific pathways they go through these circuits, and they never run into each other. So the circuits will have a area to go one direction and come back again, and they can go right by each other and never hit each other. Okay?
They're called currents.
They're called currents. It's like a big spider web, right? Okay? To outward appearance of the Seraphim grows pointed at both extremities, okay, and becomes so enshrouded within a queer light of amber hue that very soon it is impossible to distinguish this in Seraphim personality when it is all readiness for departure. The chief of the transport makes the proper inspection of the carriage of life, carries out the routine test to ascertain whether or not the angel is properly encircuited. He has to be encircuited to go in this circuit, right? And then announces that the traveler is properly in Seraphim, that the energies are adjusted and the angel is insulated, and controller, and that everything is in readiness for the departing flash. The mechanical controllers, we've talked about those before too, haven't we? The mechanical controllers, two of them, take their positions by the time the transport in Seraphim has become an almost transparent, vibrating, torpedo-shaped outline of glistening luminosity. Now the transport dispatcher of the realm summons the auxiliary batteries of the living energy transmitters, usually 1,000 in number, and as he announces the destination of the transport, he reaches out and touches the near point of the Seraphic cage, which shoots forward with lightning-like speed, leaving a trail of celestial luminosity as far as the planetary atmosphere investment extends. In less than 10 minutes, the marvelous spectacle will be lost even to reinforced Seraphic vision. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here. Okay, right in the center is the angel. You see this? Okay, and the person is inside the shields here, right here. Okay, and then you have 10 mechanical controllers, the local physical controllers, and then 1,000 energy transmitters. Okay, and a being touches the very end of that, and that thing shoots off like a rocket. What's interesting is this gets brighter and brighter, an amber hue, and eventually you can no longer see the being that's encircuited inside of it. Isn't that interesting?
When you say encircuited, Roger, it's like when a person dies. I mean, how how many people die in one day? Do they all go? They're all in Seraphim at the same time?
No. This process is only for beings moving from planet to planet. When we die, we do not leave this way.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And that's what I wanted to make sure that's a clear concept. Your guardian seraphim takes basically your soul and your physical record and everything that makes you you, and he travels with your essence to for your judgment, right? And he travels to the mansion worlds. And your adjuster, who has your personality, goes directly to what? Divinington, to the Father. So when we die, we do not leave the planet like this. We only leave in Seraphim when we become Morancha beings and we move from planet to planet. When we die, we're transported, the essence of who we are, within Seraphim, but they can cut, the Seraphim at death can carry thousands and thousands and thousands of human essences to the mansion worlds. Okay? One Seraphim. Does that make sense? So we're not in Seraphim when we die. Why are we not in Seraphim when we die? Because a Seraphim can transport a Morancha body and a spiritual body. They cannot transport flesh and blood. Right?
But when we die, we're not a flesh and blood. We are a Morancha body.
No, we're not. We're a soul. Okay? That's the difference. We have no body during the transport process when we die. There's no physical being transported.
So we're kind of like a liquid or something?
Well, yeah, we're an essence. We're on a record. We're they call it, it's the mystery of the human soul. Okay? It's that Morancha start of the Morancha being that is taken to the mansion worlds automatically. By part of it is transported by the guardian seraphim, your record, and the other part of it, your personality, is transported back with the adjuster, right? And then you're reassembled. So you actually go two different places, don't you? And then you're reunited into a Morancha form within 3 day periods or 3 days. Okay? But don't get the idea that you get transported like this when you leave the planet, because you do not. Okay? Because there's what? There's nobody to transport.
The spirit, how does the spirit get to the Morancha world?
Because it's a spirit record within the guardian seraphim itself. And what guarantees your spirit record actually shows up on the mansion world? An archangel. Because he has a duplicate of yourself in case the seraphim was to default. Okay? So there's no way you will not end up on the mansion world. It's not possible. That makes sense?
I still don't understand how my soul or spirit gets to the mansion world to be reunited with my personality to become a Morancha person.
Through your guardian seraphim.
I will not be in Seraphim?
Well, he will in Seraphim himself when he goes, but you will not be in Seraphim as a physical being. You will go as part of him. In other words, it's kind of like the difference between, how do I explain this? It's the difference between having a physical body and a liquid substance, let's say, but it's not liquid, it'd be more of a spirit substance. When you leave after you die, you have no body. Your body returns to dust. So the body you know and you've always had goes back to the elements it is. Okay? Ashes,
I got that.
ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But your soul, that mysterious part, that Morancha soul that you've been developing, that is what we believe that the Seraphim transports. But it has no body.
The Seraphim will transport my soul to the mansion world.
Yeah, but it has no body.
But is it like being Seraphim actually kind of, your essence is kind of like, I don't know how to say this exactly, but like a woman's stomach or something. You say he carries us. I mean, so would we go into like a stomach or a part of him? Or
Yeah, I'd like to think of it as more like a pocketbook, okay? So think of the Seraphim having a pocketbook, and in his pocketbook, he can put thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of souls, okay? Records, basically, is what they are, of human existence.
You said it was part of him, that we become part of the
We
Seraphim.
become part of the Seraphim. Their memory, they're in charge of us, however you want to say it. And that is what gets transported to the mansion world, okay?
He's like a kangaroo pouch.
He's kind of like a kangaroo pouch. That's a good example right
He
there.
puts all these souls in his pouch and then takes them off to the mansion world.
That's right. But he only enseraphim himself. He don't enseraphim the souls, because when he enseraphim himself...
The kangaroo is in Seraphim.
That's right.
Like a kangaroo.
That's exactly right.
Nice visual.
So we become, in essence, part of his little pouch, in essence.
Pouch.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the pouch.
Yeah. But it's not like this is. When this happens, after we've gotten a Marancha body, our physical Maranchal body is enseraphim inside this angel.
Right, okay.
Okay, that's the difference.
That really is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
But we have to have a Marancha body to be in Seraphim.
We have to have a Marancha body to be in Seraphim. That's the whole
We
point.
don't have that when we die.
We don't have that when we die. We don't get our Marancha body till we get to the mansion worlds, right?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Why is this so important? Let me explain why I went through this long process.
Think of all the people who have gone through this and never heard of this book.
That's right. That's right. The reason this is so important is why? Survival. Okay? If you choose not to survive, this Seraphim that has you in his pouch goes and has to go to the system, to the local universe capital to justify why you did not survive, right? Your record still goes with to the system capital. Your archangel still has a copy of your record, right? It's on Salmington. Okay? This record goes all the way to Salmington, and if you're adjudged non-survival, in other words, they can find nothing of survival value of you, that record is blotted out. So you don't ever get a Marancha body. You see why
Because
this?
you really never helped. You never added to your Marancha soul while you were here.
That's right. That's right. So that which makes you who you are, the soul, is removed from the guardian angel, and you cease to exist. You never get to the mansion world to be reunited with the adjuster. You never get to be reunited with your personality. You never get to go into a form. Okay? So when you leave here, that's it. You're dead. Because you're adjudged non-surviving. That makes sense? So, why is this important? There's no tears in heaven. Okay? There's no tears in the Marancha world. These beings that choose not to survive have nothing of value. So when you get to the mansion worlds, these types of beings have no memory. No one has no memory of them because they're never reassociated on the mansion world. I lost him again. Does that make sense?
On the mansion worlds, I mean, it's like the first mansion worlds, that is a place where we actually grow exponentially because we then have the mode of, I guess, consciousness.
Yeah, we have a Marancha Moda. The big mystery is this. When we get on the mansion world and we're reawakened, your thought adjuster, your personality, and your soul are all re-put back together into a body. Okay? And that soul, that Marancha soul, always will be with that body for here and through eternity. Always. Okay? Until you go on to the spirit form, and then that same soul will transport to the spirit body. Okay? I lost him again. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Alright. Let's move on. Okay, this is a picture of a transport Seraphim ready for inspection for for travel or safety. Okay? Let me add Tim back in here. Oops, sorry, I didn't. Tim, call me back.
Okay, Roger.
Alright, I didn't get you added to the group here. Okay. Everybody out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright.
Tim, are you there?
Yeah, Tim's here.
The Seraphim, what form is, I wish they did have done illustrations of these different celestial beings. But the Seraphim, what kind of body does the Seraphim have? I mean, is he in, I say he, but it's not he, but...
A Seraphim has a spiritual form, not a Morancha form. Right.
Right, so, okay, so there is no physical form. Of course there is.
Yeah, there is a physical spiritual form. Yeah. But it is a spiritual body, not a physical body that we think of. And they're within our sight range. We're allowed to see them. Right? So when we get to the mansion worlds, we will see the physical, spiritual body of a Seraphim. Not only that, the Seraphim can make himself visible to humans. Okay? So human beings, if they choose, they can make themselves visible to human beings. Just like what? Midwayers can, right? Which they rarely do. Okay, let's keep moving on. Tim, would you take this next one? Because I took yours last time.
Which one is it, Roger? I was cut off.
While planetary space reports?
Oh, while planetary space reports are received at noon at the meridian of the designated spiritual headquarters, the transporters are dispatched from the same place at midnight. That is the most favorable time for departure and is the standard hour, when not otherwise specified.
So wherever this meridian of the spiritual headquarters is, when it turns midnight on that meridian, that's when they normally leave. And we have no idea where that actually is. We speculate that it may be in the redwoods, in that area. So, okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
6, the recorders. These are the custodians of the major affairs of the planet as it functions as a part of the system and as it is related to and concerned in the universe government. They function in the recording of planetary affairs but are not concerned with matters of individual life and existence.
Okay, so this is the records of the planets themselves, not individuals, right? Okay. Diane, would you take the next one?
7, the reserves. The Satania Reserve Corps of the Planetary Seraphim is maintained on Jerusalem in close association with the reserves of the material suns. These abundant reserves repeatedly provide for every phase of the manifold activities of the Seraphic order. These angels are also the personal message bearers of the local systems. They serve transition mortals, angels, and material suns, as well as other domiciled on the system headquarters. While Urantia is at present outside the spiritual circuits of Satania and Melchizedek, you are otherwise in intimate touch with interplanetary affairs, for these messengers from Jerusalem frequently come to this world, as to all the other spheres of the system.
So even though we're in quarantine, we're still not cut off from the universe, are we? All right.
We're not conscious of it, right?
We're not conscious of it, that's right. Tim, would you take the next one, the transition ministers, please?
6, transit ministers. As the name might suggest, Seraphim of transitional ministry serve wherever they can contribute to creature transition from the material to the spiritual estate. These angels serve from the inhabited worlds to the system capitals, but those in Satania, at present, direct their greatest efforts toward the education of the surviving mortals on the 7 mansion worlds. This ministry is diversified in accordance with the following 7 orders of assignment. 1. Seraphic evangels. 2. racial interpreters, 3 mind planners, 4 Moracha counselors, 5 technicians, 6 recorder teachers, 7 administrative reserves.
Okay, so these angels help us transition from a Moracha being or a physical being to a spiritual being. Okay, so they help us prepare to become spiritual beings. And this is a picture of the transition ministers. Okay, and they work a lot on the mansion worlds, preparing us for our next step. More about these Seraphic ministers to traditional ascenders you will learn in connection with the narrative dealing with the mansion worlds and the Moracha life. So we'll talk about these more later. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one? Turn your mic back on, Millie. We can't hear you.
I'm just reading away. 7. Seraphim of the future. These angels do not minister extensively except in older realms and on the more advanced planets of Nebadon. Large numbers of them are held in reserve on the Seraphic worlds near Salvington, where they are engaged in pursuits relevant to the sometimes dawning of the age of light and life in Nebadon. These Seraphim do function in connection with the ascendant mortal career, but minister almost exclusively to those mortals who survive by some one of the modified orders of ascension.
Okay, Roger, we actually skipped, it was number 7, Ministry Reserves, where it says more about these Seraphic ministers. We skipped that paragraph.
Roger read that.
I read that.
Okay, alright. I'm off track, guys, I'm sorry.
Okay. Alright, so these are ministers, Seraphim of the future, help predict things that's going to happen, and this will be more concerned when we get closer to light and life. Okay.
We can frequently miss what you're reading because it sounds like you're just talking to us.
Oh, okay. Sorry. In other words, I preach a lot, right?
You got it.
Doing great, Roger.
All right. Diane, would you take the next one?
Inasmuch as these angels are not now directly concerned with either Urantia or Urantians, it is deemed best to withhold a description of their fascinating activities.
So they're not going to tell us much about these, right?
Which makes us more curious.
Yeah.
But that's not anything to do with our growth.
That's right. So we're out of luck on that one. All right, Tim, would you take the next one, Seraphic Destiny?
Hey, Seraphic Destiny. Seraphim are of origin in the local universes, and in the very realms of their nativity, some achieve service destiny with the help and counsel of the senior archangels. Some Seraphim may be elevated to the exalted duties of bright-evening stars, while others attain the status and service of the unrevealed coordinates of the evening stars. Still other adventures in the local universe destiny may be attempted, but Seraphington ever remains the eternal goal of all angels. Seraphington is the angelic threshold of paradise and deity attainment, the transition sphere from the ministry of time to the exalted service of eternity.
Okay, so the goal of all these angels is to get to Seraphington, just like our goal is to get to what? Ascendington, right? So we go to Ascendington as humans, and from there we step off to paradise. But the angels go to Seraphington, and from there they step off to paradise. Okay? So that's what that's all about. Just a different
I just had a question.
Sure.
The repertoires speak a lot about, how we're on the ascension career, and that we're going to be also experiencing a lot of disappointment. What exactly is a disappointment? You don't think they'd say, well, that Urantia book you're reading, well, it's not entirely true.
No, it's not that kind of disappointment. The disappointment they're talking about is we'll be given certain tasks and goals to achieve, Tim. And many times we will work at something for long periods of time and still not understand or achieve our goal. Okay? And that's what they're talking about, the disappointments along the way to paradise. But every goal that they set up for us, we will eventually achieve. Some people do it faster than other people, okay? And that's where the disappointments come in. So just like when it talks about the rings of Havana, many people go through the rings of Havana without any issue whatsoever, don't have any problems, and others go through the rings and then they just don't get one part of one of the rings. So they have to go back and do it again on that ring, or learn things on different rings so they can achieve the goals that's been set up for each and every mortal. And that's the disappointments they're talking about. So it's not...
Thank you so much for your amazing wisdom, Roger.
Well, it's not so much that you're guaranteed to get everything the first time through. So it may take a longer period of time and more training, but they're there to help us get to these things regardless. That's really what the disappointments were about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead and take that next paragraph too.
Seraphim may attain paradise in scores, hundreds of ways, but the most important, as elaborated in these narratives, are the following. 1. To gain admission to the paradise Seraphim abodes in a personal capacity by achieving perfection of specialized service as a celestial partisan, a technical advisor, or celestial recorder, to become a paradise companion, and having thus attained the center of all things, perhaps then to become an eternal minister and advisor to the Seraphic orders and others.
Much like the finalators, right? And many of the Seraphim actually do become finalators. Okay, and this is a picture of the celestial recorders, artisans, and technical advisors, which is one way to get to Seraphic. They have service in many different possibilities. Number 2, to be summoned to Seraphington under certain conditions, Seraphim are commanded on high. In other circumstances, angels sometimes achieve paradise in a much shorter time than mortals. But no matter how fitted any angel pair may be, they cannot initiate departure for Seraphington or elsewhere. None but successful destiny guardians can be sure of proceeding to paradise by a progressive path of evolutionary ascent. All others must patiently await the arrival of the paradise messenger of the tertiary Seraphim, who come with the summons commanding them to appear on high. So they can be commanded by the Paradise Trinity. It's your time, get up here, basically. Okay? So that's one way they can achieve paradise. Okay, and this is a picture of just that. A tertiary Seraphim brings them the message that they've been commanded to appear on Seraphington. Alright?
Called to the principal's office.
Pardon me, Millie?
Called to the principal's office.
Called to the principal's office, that's right. And we hope it's a good thing when you get commanded on high, right? Alright. Millie, would you take the next one?
To attain paradise by the evolutionary mortal technique. The supreme choice of Seraphim in a career of time is the post of guardian angel, in order that they may attain the career of finality and be qualified for assignment to the eternal spheres of Seraphic service. Such personal guides of the children of time are called guardians of destiny, signifying that they guard mortal creatures in the path of divine destiny, and that in so doing, they are determining their own high destiny.
So that's their guaranteed way to get to paradise, isn't it? As guardians of destiny. And that's why all of them want to be guardians, right? If they can be. Okay, and this is a picture of a guardian seraphim. You know, we talked about this, how they appear on the first mansion world, follow us through the mansion worlds, through Jerusalem, on the path all the way up, and then they eventually go to paradise with us, right? Okay, Diane, would you take the next one, please?
Guardians of destiny are drawn from the ranks of the more experienced angelic personalities of all orders of Seraphim, who have qualified for this service. All surviving mortals of just fusion destiny have temporary guardians assigned, and these associates may become permanently attached when mortal survivors attain the prerequisite intellectual and spiritual development. Before mortal ascenders leave the mansion worlds, they all have permanent Seraphic associates. This group of ministering spirits is discussed in connection with the mansion narratives.
So we know when we reach the third psychic circle that we're assigned 2 guardian seraphim, right? But if you do not reach that third psychic circle and you die and you go on to the mansion worlds, once you get to the mansion worlds, eventually you will be assigned guardian seraphim, right? One way or another, you get assigned one, either here on this world or when you die and go on to the mansion worlds. Tim, would you take the next one?
I just had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
How do we fuse with our adjusters? Do you know?
Yeah, there's 5 papers on that we'll get to, believe it or not. It's not something I can just answer off the bat. We talk about this extensive on the 5 papers of the adjuster. But let me give you a little hint how this works. The way we fuse with the adjuster is we give in totally to the will of the Father. When we make our will God's will, we are ready for adjuster fusion. That's the key to adjuster fusion, is totally committing yourself to the will of the Father. And some people can do it on this planet, and some people have to wait till even up to the 5th mansion world before they learn how to do just that. So, if you do it on this planet, you'll be consumed in the heavenly fire. In other words, you won't need your body any longer, so your body will be consumed in fire, and your adjuster will immediately go to Divinington, and within 3 days you'll appear on the first mansion world. That's what happens. So it can be done on this planet. We know of 2 people that this has happened to, and they talk about them in the Old Testament. Anybody got an idea who they are?
Was it Elijah?
Elijah and Enoch.
Enoch.
Enoch, yeah, Enoch, whichever pronunciation. Okay, I think you're up next. Okay.
It is not possible for angels to attain God from the human level of origin, for they are created a little higher than you, but it has been wisely arranged that while they cannot possibly start up from the very bottom, the spiritual lowlands of mortal existence, they may go down to those who do start from the bottom, and pilot such creatures step by step, word by world, to the borders of Havona. When mortal ascenders leave Uversa to begin the circles of Havona, those guardians of attachment, subsequently to the life in the flesh, will bid their pilgrim associates a temporary farewell, while they journey to Seraphic, the angelic destination of the grand universe. Here will these guardians attempt and undoubtedly achieve the 7th circle of Seraphic light.
So as we go through the 7 circuits of Havona, our guardian seraphim will be going through the 7 circles of Seraphic light. Okay? So they'll be going through training just like we do. And then we're reunited when we go to paradise. Okay? So, that's how it works. Okay, many but not all of those seraphim assigned as destiny guardians during the material life accompany their mortal associates through the Havona circles. And certain other seraphim pass through the circuits of the central universe in a way that is wholly different from the mortal ascent. But irrespective of the route of ascent, all evolutionary seraphim traverse Seraphicton, and the majority pass through this experience instead of the Havona circuits. So did y'all catch that? They can accompany us through the Havona circuits, but the majority go through the circuits of Seraphicton. Okay? The other thing that can happen is they can go through the circuits of Seraphicton quickly and join us on the circuits too. You follow me? So we could get through 2 or 3 of them, and then our Seraphic associate rejoins us. Okay? All right. Millie.
Yes. Seraphington is the destiny sphere for angels, and their attainment of this world is quite different from the experience of the mortal pilgrims on Ascendington. Angels are not absolutely sure of their eternal future until they have attained Seraphington. No angel attaining Seraphington has ever been known to go astray. Sin will never find response in the heart of a seraphim of completion.
So just like the finalators, just like fusion mortals with their adjusters never go astray, do they? No record of ever being that's fused with their adjuster going astray. So the seraphim are the same way. When they get through a seraphic, then no angel has ever been known to go astray. Okay, because they want.
I just had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
I know that sin means disloyalty to deity, but can it also be rebellion against God?
Actually, there's only one sin, and that is rebellion against God. Okay? All other acts are considered missteps, Tim. Just like mistakes. They call them throughout the book missteps because we do things out of ignorance. Okay? And once we understand the reasoning and the reasons why things are done a certain way, then of course we will want to do it by the will of God. And that's why they call them missteps. The only thing that is real sin is when you rebel against the Father himself or his sons, right? That's considered rebellion.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Sure. Diane, I think you're up.
The graduates of Seraphington are variously assigned. Destiny guardians of Rome Circle experience usually enter the mortal finality core. Other guardians, having passed their Havona separation tests, frequently rejoin their mortal associates on Paradise, and some become the everlasting associates of the mortal finalators, while others enter the various non-mortal finalator core, and many are mustered into the core of Seraphic completion.
So the core of Seraphic completion is much like the finalator core. The difference is the core of Seraphic completion are just for angels, right? Seraphim. Okay? Alright. The core of Seraphic completion. Tim, would you take this one?
After attainment of the Father of Spirits and admission to the Seraphic service of completion, angels are sometimes assigned to the ministry of worlds. Settled in life, they gain attachment to the high trinitized beings of the universes, unto the exalted services of Paradise and Havona. These seraphim of the local universes have experientially compensated the differential in divinity, potential, formally settled from setting them apart from the ministering spirits of the central and super universes. Angels of the Seraphic core of completion serve as associates of the super universe Seraphim, and as assistants to the high Paradise of orders of Seraphim. For such angels, the career of time is finished, henceforth and forever. They are the servants of God, the consorts of divine personalities, and the peers of the Paradise finalators.
Isn't that interesting? So they become our peer as finalators, and they are dedicated to the will and the whim of the Paradise deities, right? Okay, so their work is pretty much done. Everything they do from that point out is for the will of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Large numbers of the completion seraphim return to their native universes, there to complement the ministry of divine endowment by the ministry of experiential perfection. Nebadon is, comparatively speaking, one of the younger universes, and therefore does not have so many of these returned seraphim graduates as would be found in the older realm. Nonetheless, our universe is adequately supplied with the completion seraphim, for it is significant that the evolutionary realms disclose increasing need for their services as they near the status of light and life. Completion seraphim now serve more extensively with the supreme orders of seraphim, but some serve with each of the other angelic orders. Even your world enjoys the extensive ministry of 12 specialized groups of seraphic corps of completion. These master seraphim of planetary supervision accompany each newly commissioned planetary prince to the inhabited worlds. So even our world has a corps of seraphic, corps of completion seraphim. Okay? So we're not isolated as you would think, right? All right. So here's a planetary prince, just like we have a temporary one, and we have a whole corps of these completion seraphim assigned to us, right? All right.
I had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
They mentioned trinitized beings. Can you tell me the difference between being trinitized and re-trinitized?
Yeah, there's three different types of being. There's trinitized, there's trinity embraced, and re-trinitized. And if you wouldn't mind, Tim, it's a very long and lengthy explanation. And I'd rather wait till we get back to those papers again. Would you mind?
Okay. Not at all, Roger. Thank you.
Matter of fact, I could probably send you some references to it, but I don't want to get so far off from the paper that we can't finish this up tonight. You know.
Okay.
So, because it's a very lengthy explanation, really, because there's three types of trinitized beings. All right. Let's see, who's up?
Millie.
Millie, I think you're up.
Many fascinating avenues of ministry are open to the completion seraphim, but just as they all craved assignment as destiny guardians in the pre-paradise days, so in the post-paradise experience they most desire to serve as bestowal attendants of the incarnated paradise sons. They are still supremely devoted to that universal plan of starting the mortal creatures of the evolutionary worlds out upon a long and enticing journey toward the paradise goal of divinity and eternity. Throughout the whole mortal adventure of finding God and of achieving divine perfection, these spirit ministers of seraphic completion, together with the faithful ministering spirits of time, are always and forever your true friends and unfailing helpers. Presented by the Melchizedek, a Melchizedek acting by request of the chief of the seraphic host of Abaddon.
Okay, now, so we have covered all the seraphim, right? And next time we're going to be going on to the ascending sons of God. Are there any leftover questions about seraphim that anyone needs clarification of before we get off this subject? Because we're going to shift gears to a whole different group of beings next. So,
Just that pretty much seraphim attain, they can become a finaliter, they're female, and they can seraphim. That's all I have.
yeah, they can. Also remember they can become a type of being that's like a finaliter as the seraphic corps completion, right? They're not just exactly like finaliters, they serve along with finaliters, right? So that shows that they're completely they're completed as much as possible. And that pretty much ends this paper. And I was thinking about whether I wanted to try to get into the trinitized thing. That is really a lot to that. Let me come back to that. I hate that you had a question about it. I don't address. I don't usually do that, but there's a lot of different things. There's a whole paper about that, so we'll come back to that. All right. Okay. Who would like to say a prayer for us tonight? Any volunteer? Ken, would you like to pray for us tonight?
Could I pass?
Yeah, you can pass. Diane, would you like to pray?
Okay. Dearest Heavenly Father, Mother God, we thank you so much, so very, very much for this revelation. Thank you for the understanding and the depth of the commitment that Roger presents, and helping each of us to understand and to be able to interpret and to incorporate and to have a deeper understanding of the seraphic angels and their purpose, their goals, which, and and our destiny. We just thank you for so much order in the universe, and that God has such an amazing and incredible plan for all, each and every one of us. Our hearts, our souls are so deeply touched by this revelation. And we just thank you that the information, you may assimilate it and be able to pass it on to others and be a witness of this wonderful experience that we have studying each week. Just thank you for life, thank you for each other, thank you for our commitment to our ground and to continue finding finalities as we gain wisdom and knowledge and understanding. It is in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord, and Abaddon, pray these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for joining us at home. Please come see us again.